Imagine learning chess by watching two people play. If you were trying to understand the rules of chess without ever having played, then you would probably look at what each piece does, how it moves, which squares it has access to, and what the two opponents are trying to accomplish. Maybe you would figure out that each bishop moves diagonally, and then later on that each of these bishops only has access to one color of the tiles. And then you would go on to do the same for every piece. But in doing all of this, you would be missing a crucial component surrounding the game of chess. Because you started watching in the middle, you wouldn't know what the opening position of chess looks like. You wouldn't know how to start the game. If you know what every single piece does, but you still don't know how the opening board looks like, or even more importantly, that the end goal of chess is to checkmate the king, then you still wouldn't know how to play chess. But even worse than this, you would have learned to play something that isn't chess, but you would still call it chess. This idea or notion of questioning the unquestionable was something that recently came up to me when I was looking at an old Richard Feynman interview. And if you don't know Richard Feynman, he's a Nobel-winning physicist, but more importantly than that, one of the clearest and most passionate thinkers I think I've ever seen or heard. The interview itself is amazing, kind of an inside look at a brilliant mind, and I recommend anyone to go watch it in its entirety. It's about half an hour and it's very much worth it. The link will be in the description below.
Suppose you were a Martian, we were Martians, and we came down to this Earth and we'd look at it from the outside. And that, I can't explain exactly what he meant, but there's a way of looking something anew, as if you never saw it before, for the first time, and asking questions about it as if you were different.
Richard Feynman is stating that before any problem is solved, we must first question the very parameters that make it up. It's very tempting to assume that we start out from the right point of view or place because it makes everything easier. But in order to achieve a proper conclusion, we must first make sure that the starting point is right. If we start out by questioning the things we think we already know, we will often be surprised to find out that we didn't really know it, or that there was a gap in the reasoning to achieve it. After examining the theories, concepts and values that unconsciously rule our lives, we will find out that a lot of them either need to be discarded or replaced with better hypotheses. This examination is the starting point for a new mode of thinking, a clearer mode of thinking. In another moment of brilliance, at a speech that Feynman was giving at Caltech, he dropped probably his most iconic quote. The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest to fool. We are the easiest to fool because admitting that our boards or our starting points were wrong means admitting that we wasted time and made a mistake. It means starting over and facing a lot of uncertainty. So we instead convince ourselves that our board is set up correctly and we are simply not making good enough moves. There's a great soundbite from the original interview I mentioned, in which Richard Feynman is asked if he can have better conversations with an artist or a scientist. And he begins saying that a scientist, of course, because they have more in common. And he goes on to try and justify this for about 2 to 3 minutes, when all of a sudden you can see him stop and just realize that he's wrong. And he says it himself.
I take it all back. I take it all back. A good man, I've talked to good men in other fields. There's certain kinds of men in every field that I can talk to as well as I can talk to a good scientist. I met a historian, or a writer of history, from France once, and I had a marvelous conversation with him. Maurois, his name was Andre Maurois. And then I met an artist, Robert Irwin, who's a very important artist in Los Angeles in modern art, and I could talk to him at the same depth of excitement. So I take it all back. If you give me the right man in any field, I can talk to him. I know what the condition is, that he did whatever he did as far as he can go, that he studied every aspect of it as far as he has stretched himself to the end. He's not a dilettante in any way. And so he talked deep as far as he can go, and therefore he's up against mysteries all the way around the edge. And awe. And we can talk about mystery and awe. That's what we have in common.
When you don't dare to question the parameters that make up your life, you risk banging your head against a wall. It's like you're climbing a ladder that leads to nowhere, or like you're getting really good at a game that you shouldn't even be playing. The worst part is that you'll never know what went wrong. If you never dare to question and you limit yourself to following the rules and making the right moves from an outside perspective, and you still find yourself empty or unsatisfied, then the only conclusion you can achieve is that something is wrong with you. But maybe it's not you. Maybe it's just the board.